Honestly, something really scary.
Attention. Do I have everybody's attention now?
Hey now, this is a special edition of Overtime. Instead of Mike and JD, it's Mike and cousin Joe. For the first time in a long time, I actually got to sit down and watch most of a WWE premium live event pay-per-view, whatever they're calling them now, almost from start to finish. I did have to pause the main event and come back and finish it, but I just finished it. And I did early enough in time to where I could actually record right afterwards. And so since I'm doing so, I thought I'd go ahead and tap cousin Joe to do a podcast with me. What's up, Joe?
Just kicking back and just got done watching the post show, which was, what you would expect from a WWE post show. Plenty of fluff questions and softballs, but an interesting night from WWE.
Yeah, let me guess. What, like a big slurp show?
Yeah, how excited are you to bring Lucha Libre to the world, and things like that, because the world hasn't seen Lucha Libre before, apparently.
Right. So Lucha Libre is popular all over, or it's known all over the world.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say that it's like a big hit all over. So I do think that WWE could expand AAA's reach. But let's not pretend that AAA has not been a big organization for over 30 years. They have.
Yeah.
They've been the number two, probably. I look, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I know a lot about Lucha Libre and that I know a lot about AAA, but they've had some really big houses over the years, a lot of big feuds, a lot of big events. I would say CMLL's been the number one for forever, since its inception, right? So AAA came on around in 1993 as kind of a repudiation of CMLL's old ways. So Conan and a bunch of dudes broke off and formed AAA. AAA was supposed to be the anti-CMLL there for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
I will say I was shocked when I saw that WWE had bought AAA. I did not see it come. I was completely blindsided. There were people on Twitter, I go back in their tweets now, there were a couple of people that actually predicted this, much to my surprise, because I just completely did not see it coming. What did you think when you first saw the WWE bought AAA?
So it was so I sent you the WrestleVotes tweet first, right, about Worlds Collide,
Right?
and they said NXT and AAA, and they put that out right as NXT announced the Battleground show for late May, I think May 25th. So
Right.
I was hesitant. I was they're about 50-50 with WrestleVotes. We'll see.
WrestleVotes, I think, is pretty plugged in with WWE though.
Yeah.
He puts out a lot of stuff that they want him to put out. It seems like that's my perception. I don't know if that's true or not. It's just the way
So I was very hesitant to be okay, yeah, this is real. And I was watching the pre-show. I was actually making food, getting ready for WrestleMania. And it was Michael Cole kept hyping up. He's we've got a major announcement with Triple H, with Paul Levesque. He kept saying that. I assumed it was going to be Rey Mysterio pulling out of the match and the replacement. And then they had the whole, everybody up there with Triple H and Vikingo front and center. And they just so nonchalantly said TKO WWE has acquired AAA.
Yeah.
And I text you immediately because I was just getting ready to put in the Discord all right, they've officially announced Worlds Collide.
Right.
And then I had to delete that. I was laugh my ass off. They bought them.
Yeah. So I was getting texts from you and Matt. I was actually out trying to go for a jog, but brother, I am 42 years old now, and goddamn, I'm feeling it. So 2 weeks ago, I strained my calf doing one of my beach runs. Humble brag, I messed it up at about the 4.5 mile mark, and I had to walk the rest. I walked another mile, and so I took a week off. I was in Kauai anyway, the rest of the time. So I took a week off, and I was trying to get in a jog last week, and like within 2 minutes, my calf just pulled on me. Right.
Right.
It wasn't too bad, nothing crazy, but so I stayed off of it for another week. I decided to go jog today because I was like, man, I'm like going up and down these stairs pretty good. I'm chasing the kids around, like, my daughter and her friends and stuff like that. So I think I can go out for another jog. I get less than a mile down the road, and I completely blew it. Like, the calf is gone. I need a new calf. I might have to get like a Buff Bagwell calf transplant or something like that. So, so like, thankfully, you and Matt Trusto at the same time were texting me and giving me the play-by-play. And so what I did was, it's like, well, since I can't jog, I just pulled up Peacock on my phone, and while I walked home in shame, I watched the announcement. I rewound it, and it was pretty surreal, man. So here's the thing about AAA. Again, I'm not a AAA expert. I'm not pretending to be. I have seen lots of AAA in the past. What I can say is AAA fucking sucks.
Yeah.
Like,
so my initial thought,
shit show, bro. It's some of the worst events I've ever seen in my life. AAA events.
So my initial thought, because like their roster has been depleted over the last 2 or 3 years of just everybody, all the big stars going to America. I'm not going to say like this is good for the business as a whole. Like, it's never good when the biggest company keeps acquiring other companies. With that being said, it feels to me more like AEW acquiring a Ring of Honor, where like you would rather Ring of Honor be owned by somebody else, but Ring of Honor was doing bad business and didn't really have a good roster, so at least the brand can stay alive. I don't know where AAA's business was, but they haven't been doing great things the last couple of years.
Yeah. I don't know that they were going out of business though.
No, not going out of business. Like, Ring of Honor was going out of business.
Ring of Honor went out of business. They folded up. And,
right. So AAA was not on that path, but they weren't doing, like, it would be a lot worse to me for the business overall if they were acquiring CMLL, right? Like, CMLL was doing hot. If WWE went and acquired them and pulled CMLL back from working with New Japan and AEW, that would be a lot more major to me. But AAA, like, they just kind of felt a very distant second place. So I'm not going to say it's great for the business, but it's not, the end of the world for the business either, because like not a lot of guys were going there anyway.
I think WWE could come in and completely fuck up Mexico, right? Because we at least right now have one company that is still like doing really good. Like, and AAA, I mean, they just had recently, like, they have a good TV deal there as far as I can tell. They're still doing big houses, although some of them are inflated a bit. Like, they do a lot of free shows and stuff like that. So they did lose a lot of talent, but they're really good at replenishing their talent. They got a lot of young talent. None of them are like significant stars. Alberto is their champion. So here's the thing. This is very much, it's a lot less like AEW buying Ring of Honor because Ring of Honor died. This is very much like WWE going into a new territory in the 80s and taking them out. You know what I mean? Like, buying them up because they want to infiltrate that region. Yeah. Mexico is one of those regions that WWE has never really been able to penetrate. They can go in there and do some big shows here and there, but they haven't really had any sustained success in Mexico. Similarly, they have not really had any sustained success in Japan, right? They go into Japan and they're behind New Japan. When they go into Mexico, they're behind CMLL and AAA. Unfortunately, AAA just couldn't, keep it together, and then they, now they have sold. So WWE is coming in to buy them. Triple H was just on the thing. I just saw the play-by-play on Twitter. He was just on the post-show press conference, and he was saying that they want to keep, AAA, Lucha Libre. They don't want to go in there and change what they're doing. I would love to believe that, but history has shown me that that's not the case. That's not what they do. Like, I get the feeling they're going to go in there and make it WWE style Lucha Libre, and will that be successful? I don't know. Will they just call it WWE Mexico after a while? Because what they're trying to do is they want WWE to be more global than it already is, and Mexico and Japan are the two regions that they have not been able to successfully penetrate and become the number one dominant brand in the region. So I think they bought AAA, and they go in there. They're gonna prop it up, and then if they're gonna prop it up, they're probably gonna spend some money on it, and they're CMLL is doing really well, but what they don't do very well is pay their top talent very well, right? Like those guys are not making a ton of money. Could WWE, sign some of those guys? And if they do, they inflate AAA. They sign some CMLL guys, bring them over, hurt CMLL. Now you fucked up 2 companies, and then all of a sudden we have WWE Mexico, and we don't have AAA anymore, and we also don't have CMLL anymore. I think it's appropriate to go in there and be kind of a doomers in this situation because of the track record here with WWE.
Yeah, one thing I take from that is CMLL just needs to pay their guys better, because anytime I see anything from Arena Mexico, that place is always packed. So
packed and rocking, dude.
Yeah, packed and rocking. And I've been told, again, I've not been to Arena Mexico myself. I've been told a lot of Arena Mexico is usually tourists who come in, and it's like a big tourist thing. Like obviously CMLL and Lucha Libre in the culture of Mexico, but I've been told like Arena Mexico is very touristy as well. So anybody can correct me if I'm wrong on that. But they, just you got to pay your guys more. Hopefully it gets people paid more in CMLL. I'm really curious what they're going to do on the creative side of AAA. I don't think Triple H has the time to try to run that himself.
No.
He doesn't, like, from the relationships I know of him. Like, Shawn Michaels just made a lot of sense for NXT, right? William Regal makes a lot of sense to be his right-hand man guy on Raw and SmackDown. I don't see the guy who makes a lot of sense for him to place in AAA, right? Like, are they going to have Rey Mysterio be more involved there?
It's going to be Conan. Conan has been the booker. I don't think he's going anywhere. I think Rey Mysterio is probably going to be involved in this company. It's somewhere. That is his brother. That's his mentor. I think Conan stays involved. And I think that that's not a good thing for AAA, because he's been the booker and he just can't keep it together with some of that creative. Like he does the same shit over and over again. It's always like these crazy turns and very Vince Russo-esque type booking there, which is kind of what's killed that place. The 2 things that have killed AAA, and again, I'm a novice when it comes to the topic, but the 2 things that killed AAA is like, obviously losing a lot of their talent and just like piss poor management and booking. And could WWE turn that thing around? I don't know. Could they find somebody that knows enough about Lucha Libre to go in there and be able to book it appropriately? I don't know. I think all that remains to be seen. We'll see what they have in store. One of the things obviously they're going to be doing a little bit better, because WWE has been signing up a ton of luchadors lately. And
I don't think this is a coincidence.
It's been no coincidence. They just signed, Pentagon, Rey Fenix, Dragon Lee, and then of course they've had Mysterio and El Hijo del Fantasma. What's his name?
Santos Escobar.
They gave him the most generic.
They
gave Escobar the most generic Mexican name of all time.
You forgot the big one, El Grande Americano.
Bro, dude, a lot of like bleeding heart white libs are pissed about that guy.
So I tell you what, with my most King of the Hill line there, I don't think it was. I think it means something that Vikingo got physical with, like, I think that means something, and I think we're going to see something at Worlds Collide. If Vikingo can stay healthy for that long, the guy, he does take a lot of bumps and a lot of injuries.
Vikingo's in an Ultimate X match coming up next week. I don't know if the brothers' knees are going to hold up. We'll see though.
But I think that definitely means something, and I think that would be a match for Worlds Collide. And Gable and Grande Americano, whatever, he is an ultimate professional, and he would be the guy that I think would be great for Vikingo to have his first WWE AAA match with. So I'm interested to see where that goes, at least.
I'm interested to see where that goes. So I wasn't planning on going live, but I said, fuck it, we'll do it live. Let's see.
Bill O'Reilly,
Mike Gilbert, did you see that I promoted you in a tweet? Please send royalties appropriately. I did not see. Oh, I did see that. Thank you. Yeah. So we'll get to that because I do have a question. I want to get the chat's thoughts on it. So King of the North says AAA is alive. Ring of Honor was dead and closed, and TK bought it. It's not comparable. Yeah. And then I got this other brother in here, giving me all kinds of all caps comments, brother. There's a lot, and I feel like you're yelling at me, so I'm not gonna read them. Like, if you want to yell at me, at least do a super chat. All right, Axe, brother Axe. Me and him had a good back and forth today. He says AAA were losing money and the market is headed towards a recession. This was their best exit strategy option. That makes sense. Are
we charging tariffs on luchadors?
I don't know, but since WWE is MAGA, you would think that maybe they would get that waived. They would get like a WWE tariff. Like
luchador waiver,
kind of like what Steve, but not Steve Jobs, but who's the other fucking guy for Apple?
Steve Apple, whatever.
Yeah,
same guy.
Yeah, that guy, not the dead guy, the new guy that's not dead yet. Him.
Tim Cook.
Yeah, so there's like a tech exemption. Maybe we'll get like a luchador exemption on that. Let's see. Axe also says UFC 317 is headed to Arena Guadalajara for Noche UFC. Well, UFC's been pretty big in Mexico for a long time.
Yeah.
Famously, they took Cain Velasquez into Mexico and he fucking gassed out and got his ass.
Yeah. And you know what? Wasn't the AEW Arena? Did they announce our Arena Mexico show coming up? Didn't that just happen, or am I misremembering things?
Sorry, say that again.
Didn't AEW just announce, or like it's rumored to be announced that they're
No, Grand Slam Mexico is going to be in Arena Mexico, and then like 2 days later, WWE announced this thing. Now this thing has been in the works, but very clearly, I think Fightful Select had a report earlier today that the announcement came because of that. And so they're trying to hurt that, of course.
Yeah. I don't think that was a coincidence. Like I said, I think Penta and Fenix trying so hard to get away from AEW was not a coincidence at all when we see the timing of how this came together.
Right. When you saw Conan like tweeting, it was like, what goes around comes around part 2. I was like, brother, I don't know if this is going to end up being good or not, man.
Yeah.
I'm on the side that it's going to end up being bad. Because everything outside of WWE, the WWE touches, ends up not going well. I think question for the chat. I was pretty bullish for a long time that WWE was not buying TNA. I was like fighting against it because like it still does not make sense to me that WWE would buy TNA, right? It like, what would they buy? Like, what are they getting? Right? They're getting a logo and a library. Access TV doesn't pay for the fucking show, right? Like they just get a budget from Anthem to produce the show for a channel that's damn near dead. So like WWE, what would they be getting? Also, they had the MLW lawsuit and the fighter lawsuit against the UFC and TKO because that came about because UFC bought up fucking Strikeforce and WFA and WEC and all these other companies. And Pride went out of business. That's a little bit of a different thing, but they like Strikeforce was legit like doing fine, and their parent company just kind of like, I just saw like a deal on the table and took it. They didn't care about the sport. WFA was a local indie. WEC was doing pretty good in California. Right out of Lemoore there in the 559 district. Shout out to my homies in the Central Valley. So they were doing good. UFC went in there, infiltrated, took them over, and then crushed them, took all the talent and killed the companies, right? And then so eventually that's what led to UFC getting sued by the fighters, and they just had to pay out a huge lawsuit. So I had that knowledge. I had the knowledge that there's nothing really that WWE would buying if you're TNA. If you're a television company or a television network, or if you're a independent guy or a hedge fund manager and you think you can get TNA a TV deal, or maybe even have one on lock, I can understand buying that. But if you're WWE, it's like, what are you getting? Right. They just now started really maximizing the WCW library. They don't do shit with their library anymore. So I don't know. So I'm putting the question out to you, Joe. Is WWE? Is there an opportunity? Would they be buying TNA? What do you think?
I I kind of agree with you. I don't see the value in it for WWE. With AAA, they're getting into Mexico. If if they buy, say Pro Wrestling Noah, which sounds like there's a lot of reasons why that can't happen, but say they did, if they buy Noah, they're getting into Japan. What are they getting by buying TNA? They
Right.
haven't been, they don't have the network anymore, so they don't need the library. They're putting all their stuff, all their old library on YouTube for free. They're not going to buy TNA for whatever 50, $100 million, whatever it would be, to just put all the library, probably not even
20.
that much.
Not 50 to
Yeah.
100. I think Scott Newmore was trying to buy it for like 15 or something like that.
All
I
right.
can't remember
Whatever the
exact
number is.
Yeah.
But they're not going to get a return on investment from buying TNA, and they've already got a partnership with them where they can just throw their guys on a TV show to get them experience. So,
Yeah.
I guess it could happen. WWE does want to be a monopoly. I still think it's pretty low at this point.
Yeah. I would still I would still bet against it at this point, but I'm not taking it off the table anymore.
Right.
Now WWE buying up AAA in a different country doesn't make them a monopoly in America.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that those rules and laws exist in America. So them going to another country and buying up one of their companies means like nothing to locally anyway, like in the States. So I don't think this is them being a monopoly. Technically by the letter of the law, it would be like Ford going to like Japan and buying up Hyundai or whatever, like Toyota. That's not the same thing, right? But if Ford bought up Dodge, well, it's like, okay, well, now we're looking at possibly being a monopoly because you're buying up another American company and you're removing competition. So, here's the thing. I think anything is possible at this point. I'm not taking it off the table. I think with their relationship with the current administration, if they were to, now would be the time to do something like that because they'd probably get away with it. And I don't know what the country's going to look like in the next election, but I would say there's a lot of people betting that it's going to stay the same, not with the same president, but the same like type of people, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and if that were the case, I would favor WWE, which is probably another reason why they're sucking up to these guys.
Yeah.
I think that they would be okay if they did do it, or they could have opened themselves up to a lawsuit. But I don't think they'd be opening themselves up to like a federal indictment for monopolizing. I don't think they would, like, during this current regime. I don't think so. But they could open themselves up to a lawsuit, and that could hurt the company. So who knows? We'll see. But I'm still at the point where I'm like, I don't see it happening, but I'm also like way more open to it than I was before. I do think that Anthem could I do think Anthem could get out of the wrestling business eventually. I don't, if they don't get a TV deal soon, I could see them just totally like, trying to inflate the thing and get the books right and just kind of cut bait and see if they can sell to some other guy. You know what I mean? I could see that.
I think that would be the most likely chance of WWE buying, is if Anthem was saying like, we're just going to close up shop.
Yeah.
Because at that point, then maybe WWE wants the library for future use, or maybe they just want it as, an extra training grounds, just like an extra show to be able to throw their guys and their women on. If that happens, I'd see it more likely. But before today, I would have said 0%. After today's announcement, I'm closer to like 5%.
Yeah. All right, let's get to this. Hold on. King of the North says, that's exactly what I'm thinking, Mike. They'll get away with it. No blowback. They'll get away with it federally. I don't think they would get away with it without a lawsuit. I think somebody would take that lawsuit on, for sure. Dobby says they want a global company with AAA and probably Noah or New Japan. TNA is the company they partner with in the US to try and hurt AEW. So that was the thing that I've been saying for a long time. They're propping up TNA to take away from AEW's market share and also to avoid lawsuits. That's kind of what I've been thinking.
Today's events is making the conspiracy people run wild with The Rock's picture from the other day. Did you see that?
Yeah, well, conspiracy people, we're talking about Kevin Kelly, right? Yeah, Kevin. But look, say what you want about Kevin Kelly. He worked for New Japan for a long time. He knows those people. He still has friends in the company. I'm sure they still talk to him. And he said that New Japan would be next. You had The Rock wearing that shirt, which was obviously not a coincidence.
Yeah.
I don't think that was about Jeff Cobb. I know some people are saying that. I don't think The Rock. I'm not saying The Rock doesn't know who Jeff Cobb is. I'm just like looking back on it. I think something bigger is at play. Is it purchasing New Japan? I think that's a reach.
All right,
but
so
you know what? New Japan's fucking poor, by the way. Like
Yeah.
Bushiroad, they're not making money right now. They can't afford to pay Naito. Now Naito's shot, but they can't afford to pay him. They lost Okada, they lost Will Ospreay. You know, they lost all these other people. Things aren't really working out for them. So, is it possible that WWE could buy them? Japanese companies don't like to sell to American companies, but at the end of the day, you might not have a choice.
Yeah, so somebody in Discord had posted something about like the Japanese business committee or something along those lines of like who like you got to have some sort of approval to sell. If anybody knows anything more about that, feel free to share it. But like they said, that's why a Japanese company selling to WWE would be very unlikely. But that doesn't mean a bigger partnership that is on paper can't happen. I think the part of Rock looking at the Rubik's Cube, I think two things in that picture were intentional. I think the shirt and the Rubik's Cube were both intentional. I just don't know what they mean. I don't think The Rock has ever solved a Rubik's Cube in his life before. So like maybe he's just been working on the same one for the past 30 years.
I could see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Joel Gertner in ECW said, I'm like a Rubik's Cube. The more you play with it, the harder it gets. That's
a great line.
Yeah. Purchasing, I don't know. But could New Japan see value in maybe switching their partnership from AEW to WWE?
And Nick Khan did reach out to New Japan before.
Yeah.
Like that there were negotiations. His big at that time it was purely centered around Bryan Danielson wanting to let Danielson work New Japan and stay in WWE. I think that was Nick Khan just trying to get his foot in the door because he's seen the way the business was going with AEW and wanted to kind of prevent that. And I'm really curious if those negotiations never happen, if New Japan doesn't ultimately partner with AEW because maybe they saw what Nick Khan was seeing and they thought, oh, like things can get weird. We need to partner up with somebody who probably has our better interests at heart than WWE would. So there are past relationships there. So it is a little interesting.
It is interesting. I don't think that it's a crazy thing to think that WWE and New Japan could wind up partnering. I don't even know what agreement New Japan and AEW have in place outside of what they agreed on for the Forbidden Door shows. Access, WWE doesn't have to acquire New Japan right away. It can be a partnership that evolves into a majority acquisition with New Japan retaining a minority. Look, I after today, nothing would surprise me. All right, this guy